So who can tell me what was the name of their episode? Look, none of y'all don't be watching. That's a shame. Ooh, it ought to be a sin and a shame before God. Don't nobody know the name of their episode? Look at Jazz trying to go look it up. I see you, Jazz. Yeah, okay, everybody watch it. What was the name of the episode? Okay, what happened? Tell me something that happened in the episode.
Okay, so
you know the name? Oh wait, we got somebody. That's right. Yay!
yeah, that was the name.
Pass me a jacket right there. Yeah. You said what? Yeah, she did try to build a relationship. So their episode was What Goes On in This House Stays in This House. Monica. No, pass me that small. It's a small. Pass me that small. Girl, you look like an extra small. Yeah, so their episode was What Goes On in This House Stays in This House. And the reason why that name of that episode is because a lot of times we're taught. A lot of times that we're taught when we coming up that we're supposed to keep quiet about things, or our parents was telling us not to tell our business. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times we grow up with that mentality of we don't supposed to say this or we don't supposed to say that, and it really not only hinders us, but it hurts us, not just as a person, but as a family. And so Latasha and KC both experienced molestation. KC at the age of 5, and Latasha from the age of 5 to 16, right? So from 5 to 16, there was a lot of trauma, a lot of things that she didn't understand as a little girl. And as she began to blossom into a woman, it affected her even more. She wasn't able to heal because she didn't know who to speak out to, right, sis? And then finally she got the strength and she just ran away, right? But even with running away, guys, that's still not facing the demon. You know, we could run from problems. We could act like problems don't exist, but we have to face those demons. So, sis, that day after you ran away, what was that day like? Did you feel like that was healing, or did you feel like an uncertain road?
So I ran away from home on my 17th birthday. Mm-hmm. And I was telling my mother that every year when she had a baby. I said, I'm leaving you when I turn 17. And she would laugh and think that it was funny, but I didn't know why I was saying it. I really didn't know that I really was going to do it. But when I turned 17, it was like, okay, you've been saying this. My friend and I, we shared the similar month. So she's May 1st, I'm May 9th. And we decided we were going to have us a birthday party. So we invited all the people from school. And so they like, your mama on the phone. She on her way. And I left the party. And I never went home. We left our own party. I had a little money because we charged $2 at the door. It was about 100 and something people in the room. And back then, you know, that was a lot of money. Yeah. And so I stayed going. And I think I was just so afraid to get beat. I wasn't really afraid to like go home. I'm like, ain't nobody gonna touch me again. Because I don't know what I would have done, right? And so I was living in poverty, so I didn't want to be around the kids. I just wanted to, like, do something that I wanted to do without my parent, one, not understanding me, and two, you know, I'm 17. I had no freedom.
And why do you feel like, looking back now that you've grown, why do you feel like you held it in so long and did not tell your mom what her husband was doing to you?
I held it in because I loved her. That was it. It was just because I loved her more than I wanted her to hurt.
So you felt like I sacrificed myself.
I sacrificed myself for my mother's pain, right? So she wouldn't go through. Because at a young age, sometimes, or back then, I noticed, or I went through, shut up. You don't say that. You in grown folks' business. When it really wasn't that. It was sometimes I'm saying, trying to tell my auntie, like, you know, and then they would cut you off or cut me off. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't tell her. And then when she would say certain things, so when I was 12, one of my friends at church, or maybe they would consider us cousins, she said, why you look so light? You don't look like nobody. Is that your real father? I said, no, that's not my real daddy. Da-da-da-da. Next thing I know, my mother is beating me with a drumstick. Don't you ever tell nobody that that's not your daddy. Da-da-da-da. So I'm like, well, I never knew that I wasn't supposed to say it. But to get chastised for telling the truth, now it's like, oh, I really can't tell her because she won't believe what I say. Or she's going to defend him because don't go against that thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was really it. I just did, and I didn't know that she would believe me.
Did you feel like back then, was there anybody that you felt like you could confide in and tell? Or you just felt like you was on your own?
I had one person that I felt like I could tell, but I was still so afraid that I was just like, I'm not going to say nothing.
And then as you begin to go into womanhood and being an adult and, you know, get married, you end up getting married and having kids, like, do you feel like you had suppressed it or do you feel like you had moved past it?
I feel like I suppressed it. When I was married, I wasn't in love with my husband, but he was my friend. And so I would have been with him for the rest of my life had he not, like, did something to me. And so it was a relationship. I said, you do this, and I'm going to do this. So we knew all along what it was, right? But I felt that way then. If I said it in this moment, I still wouldn't have been with him for the rest of my life because I would have healed. And when I'm healed, I can no longer do that thing that I was okay with doing, you know, in that state of mind, in that mental state, right? Because it's like, well, I'm trusting him with this hurt, and then you hurt me too. So now you in that same box with everybody else. I don't trust you anymore. And because I didn't love you, I wasn't in love with you because I love people, right? So we love people, but I wasn't in love. So because I wasn't in love with you and I gave you that thing, that part of me, and you did something that like you hurt me like other people, other men, so now I don't trust you anymore.
So did you feel like, why do you feel like you wasn't comfortable enough to tell your husband, like, I don't want to perform oral sex on you because somebody made me do this and now I have a stigma?
Because it was the way that he would come to me. So, and I think that this is a good thing because sometimes when we are in relationship with people, we like them, we are intimate, and then if we say no, then it's like, why not? Why you don't want to do it? And it's
well, they trying to push your head down there anyway.
Yeah, you know, and he would get angry, and I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, but, and so I was doing hair, I was a cosmetologist, and my clients would be saying how they doing all this, and I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. I don't do that to my husband. 5 years in, you've been married for 5 years and you don't do it? No, I don't. I don't want to do it. And so one day it was on a Sunday, we were into it about it. And I went in the bathroom and I wrote a letter to him. I might have been on a Saturday, and that Sunday morning I wrote a letter, but I didn't say who it was. I just said I was forced to do X, Y, Z, and when he dropped me off at church, I threw it in the car. And I don't know to this day if he read the letter.
That's what I'm saying. So do you feel like y'all could have had, like, maybe saved a relationship, or do you feel like it would have been better if you was able to just come out and just tell him?
It would have been better. But then when you put people in relationship with other people and they don't know, right? So because, and we talked about this before, because I really went through Stockholm Syndrome. I loved my family. I could say that I loved my abuser, right?
Right.
And I introduced him to them, right? And so it's like, well, how would you introduce me to somebody that did that to you? But I wasn't in that mode. That wasn't in my mind, right? And so when I'm saying, this my mama, this my daddy, this my, you know, and here are family relationships, and then here I come 5 years down the line saying, well, this is what really happened.
So do you feel like you would have looked stupid or embarrassed?
Yes. Yes, it really took me to last year to not feel embarrassed by even speaking out. Because it's my voice. It really happened to me. And as much as it may hurt you, as much as it may be embarrassing for you, another person, as much as you may not understand why did it take so long, it still happened to me. And for my life, I had to deal with it for my life. Like being a 5-year-old child that does not understand anything about sex, anything about math, anything, right? And then it's like, what is going on? So I was black to relationship, making love, sex, all that. I was just black to it. I could do it, and I wouldn't even know that I just, was in the act. And so I finally did. And when I did, I began to be that 5-year-old child in a relationship with this man who now wants me to do what somebody else wanted me to do.
You automatically went back.
I automatically went back.
And resorted to the little girl who was being hurt by a stepfather. And then when you finally did tell your mom, this is like the continuation, y'all, of the episode. So when you finally told your mom and you didn't get the response that you was looking for, did you regret telling her? Did you feel like I should have just kept it to myself?
No, I really did feel relief. I was really hurt because I would tell my therapist, I'm like, okay, well, I know she's going to be mad. She might be angry. She might do this. I had all of these different things. She going to do this. She going to do that. And when she didn't do the thing that I thought about, I didn't know how to respond. And so now here I am. I was what it's called, regress.
Mm-hmm. Digress.
Or digress. Mm-hmm. I went back.
She regressed. You regressed.
I regressed. Mm-hmm. And I started having sickness in my body. I was going to the doctor all the time, having to get these, the pain shots that they give to the...
like cortisone shots for...
And it was nothing wrong. It was just...
the stress in your body and the anxiety.
Yes, and because I love my mother so much, like I would say my mother taught me how to do a lot of things. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how to clean. She taught me how to be a woman, right? She taught me when to speak, how to speak, not to say anything, how to, even though she may not have been that woman for herself, Latasha knew. I have great skills, right? But I did not know how to handle not knowing if she loved me.
And do you feel, so how do you feel like now at this present moment? Do you feel like she loves you, or do you feel like she chose her husband over you? Or do you feel like, I don't care. It's my truth. I lived in it, and if I told her she don't believe me, so be it.
You know what? I really do, and this is just my as Casey say, this is my opinion, and it's not a fact. I believe that when people say they don't care, it's still something that you put inside. Mm-hmm. We weren't created not to care. We just make it a point to say, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to. And I did that. When I didn't care, I was sick. I was able to live life like, I don't care. I don't have to be around. I don't have to do this. But when you can no longer make decisions with another person, so I'm making this decision on my own, right? When it happened, when I told my mother, I actually pressed record on the phone. And I probably think that wasn't good for me, because now I have a memory that I still have yet to delete. You're right. I try to go back to it, mm-hmm. and I only could get so far, because I'm like, whoa, I sound like a really, like I was going through. It took so much
for you to get to that point,
for me to get to that point, and then the response was just like, it was debilitating. And today I feel great, right? I feel good. I feel kind of like vindicated, mm-hmm. because I was able to do it. And I'm proud of me. Every year when I would try, because that wasn't the first time, I would try and then I'm like, nah, I'm scared. And how are you 39 years old and scared of your parent? Like, what's she gonna do? She gonna beat me up? And so I'm happy and proud that I was able to do it, but I'm not satisfied in the way that I have to live my life now, right? I don't have my mother there. She doesn't even really know my granddaughter, right? And so much has happened that it's almost like she's dead to me. She really had to, I really had to have a funeral. And I think about it all the time. If somebody called me and said something was what happened, how would I respond? Like, would I be okay with it? Because I'm really living this life like she doesn't exist.
And do you feel like you've forgiven her? Do you forgive her? No.
Nope, I haven't, and I'm being real honest in this moment, and I never had to answer that question, do I feel like I've forgiven her? No. So that's where I am now in the healing. Like, I need to go through forgiveness. I have worked on me so much that people are like, well, how do you forgive? I know what I need to do to forgive, but I can't tell you that I forgive it, right? And so I don't even know that I want to. I don't know if that's right, but I don't know.
No, it's your
if
truth,
I want
sis.
to, because then it seems like it make everything else okay. I believe that what I want is to have an adult conversation with all of the people that has something to do with it, whether it was my mother, her husband, my aunts, my cousins, my siblings. I believe that I want to have them in a room just like this. And I want to be able to say everything that I needed to say to them, and they need to ask me any questions, because I feel like nobody here heard me. Like, you all heard that, and then you went and decided, well, she went to jail, she went to prison. Well, she was doing taxes. Well, she was doing all this, but what about everything that you all did behind closed doors? Nobody talks about the hustling that they did that they just weren't caught with. And then here I am years later, and I'm incarcerated, and I'm okay with that, because stand up to me today and show me where you are.
Yeah.
Because God does all things well, right? And had I not went to prison, I would never met you. I would never met Casey, right? And so sometimes we have to align, because that was the time when I was incarcerated where I got the biggest breakthrough of my healing, right? So my mother, my aunts, maybe it was about 5 or 6 of them, my brother Rodney, and he brought someone else to come and see me while I was incarcerated. I didn't know that they were coming, and didn't even know that they were off the visiting list, anything. So when they came, I could see them through the window, and I yelled out, "Daddy!" And in that moment, I was like, ugh. I felt like something inside of me broke.
Why am I calling this man daddy at a grown woman after he's done me so wrong so many years? Where did that come from?
And I felt embarrassed, like, ooh, I have never said it again since that day. They came, and I didn't even look him in his face. Only reason why I was okay with that visit was because I was able to talk to my brother, but I still was like out of it. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Something inside of me was happening, and I felt so uncomfortable. And I was just like, okay, hurry up, I'm ready for them to leave. Now, we want people to visit.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to see nobody. I want everybody to go.
Do you hold it also against like the people that you came out and told? Like, do you hold it against them too? That
No.
You okay with them?
Well, the only person that I told that said something was my daughter. So she was the one that told everybody. She sent the group text, like, y'all need to do X, Y. She was like, I'm my mama, y'all daddy, da-da-da-da-da. And I didn't even know that she had said anything. I'm getting calls and like, what happened, And so, but I am so proud that she did that for me. Like, it took me to see some strength in my child to help me. And she was, what, 21? She had just had Demi K. And so she was 21. And so she was like, no, somebody going to have to say something.
Because everybody else is just walking around like life goes on and it's normal, and we just going to sweep it under the rug.
And I felt bad, too, because I shouldn't have to have my child to be the biggest
rescuer
support that I have. But it taught me something about me. Like, okay, I instilled that in her, you know, and I'm like, I look at them and I say, okay, I need that type of strength. That doesn't have any fear, right? The kid that I wanted to be, she don't have that fear. And so I'm like, okay. And so that was the biggest support that I needed and that I had. So no, I don't have anything, you know, about
There's a lot of parents in the room. So would you say that there's ways or signs for them to look like if somebody's, you know, because a lot of times we don't say anything. We don't. We'll hold it in. But do you feel like there were signs that maybe your mom or somebody could have picked up on that something was wrong or something was going on? Or do you feel like most of the time when it happens that it's hitting so well?
So the thing is that women, and I could say that because I'm a woman, women, we have to pay attention. Stop being so into people, the man being so in love that you don't pay attention to what's happening with the children. She was so in love. She loved her husband. She loves her husband more than me.
And we always say, Shauna, what we be saying? Can't get in between a man and they can't get in between a girl and they do, baby.
And so when you are blinded by that, you can be blinded by so many other things. It's like, have you ever heard the kids say, my mama run after him? Or, you know, you running behind somebody. When a woman is running behind a man and they are so in love, you will miss. You will miss the signs because you don't even want to see it. You know he over there with the lady at the church going to her house and all this. Okay, well, he came home. That's my husband. You know? And so you have to have relationships with your children. You have to continue to have an open relationship, communication. I really didn't learn how to communicate effectively until I became an adult. I tried to speak or communicate to my own children, but it did feel funny. It felt different because I didn't have that. You know, asking them, how was your day? They don't know how much that took from me. Like, how's your day? It felt, you know, very awkward raising children and doing things that I didn't have done to me. And they were able to effectively communicate how their day went. Not that I may have even heard them. I just wanted to go through the thing that I didn't have until I was able to actually do it. And when I was able to actually do it, it was harder because now my children are like, well, what's wrong? Right? We're breaking generational curses. We're destroying generational curses.
Right.
Because anything that can be broken can be fixed. So we want to destroy them, right? And so for me, when I had Malik, he was born in 2002. So this is an anniversary year for me, 2003. And a lot happened to me in 2003, trauma-wise, right? I had a baby, so I was going through postpartum. I didn't know it. Postpartum depression can cause you to go through, and when you have had trauma that's sitting, it will cause that trauma to grow, right? And then that's when the depression grows more or bigger than just postpartum. So it had grown bigger than postpartum for me. So my husband said, on the Sunday, so today is that Sunday, hey, let's go on a date. We're going to go on Thursday. And I said, okay. I was excited because he wanted to go on a date, you know. And I'm like, okay, so when Thursday came, I got dressed, I got ready, and we're driving. And he said, do you know where you're going? Does this look familiar? I'm like, no. Where are you taking me? And he said, you've been driving this way 2 and 3 times a week for 9 months. You don't know where you're going? I said, no. He said, I'm taking you to the hospital. Because something is wrong with you. I'm like, that's how I felt. Because I'm all cute and dressed and ready. And he said he's taking me to the hospital. So I said, well, now I'm angry.
But you was pretty on the outside, but broken on the inside.
Well, broken on the inside. And so that made me defensive towards him because it's nothing wrong with me. So he's like, when I come home, you walking out. When I talk to you, you're not responsive. I was like walking around like a zombie, and I could hear people saying that, and I'm like, I don't care what they saying. But I couldn't control it. And so when we got to the hospital, the doctors was taking all these tests, and they said, okay, you have a chemical imbalance in your blood. It's really this high, and you really need to you need to stay today. You need to stay today. And I'm like, asking me, do you feel like committing suicide? Do you want to hurt yourself? And I said, no, I just don't care. I don't care. Well, you had a baby. How do you feel about the baby? I'm like, well, I don't feel like he's mine. I don't have a connection. If I look at him, I know I had him, but I don't feel like I had him because I don't have that, asking me all the questions. And so I told the doctor, I said, it's Easter. I got to do my clients. I got to go make my money.
Yeah.
He said, so your clients is more important to you? I said, yeah. They're important to me. I cannot let them down. So I'll be back on Monday. And I probably was there maybe 6 to 8 hours because it was early morning. You go out at 7. Mm-hmm. And I went to do hair that weekend. On Sunday was Easter, March 31st. And then Monday I believe I went to Popeyes. I know I did. And I went to the hospital.
And you stayed?
And I stayed.
I know that day you was angry at him, but today, do you thank Ralph for that day?
Today I thank Ralph for that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. And we have gone through so much, he and I, but we could be friends right now today because I don't hold anything against you, right?
But he was part of your healing, sis.
He was part of my healing.
Yeah, he was part of your healing.
He was the one that was, whatever way he decided to do it, he was the one that made a choice to say, I'm going to help her, right? What is that, the show called, when they go and they try to help people? Intervention. He was the one that did an intervention. And as much as I didn't want to go, when I went, I saw all of these different people who had so many, mental illnesses, schizophrenia, all these different things. I would talk to them. And I wrote myself a letter and said, today is the day that I feel like my back is against the wall. I don't really know what to do, but I'm gonna get from against the wall.
Right. And
me meeting those people and seeing, I said, oh, I ain't crazy. I'm not like them. But something isn't right.
That's right. And guess what? Just because our mental health might not look like somebody else's mental health, it's still all mental health.
It's still all mental health.
Yeah.
And so the tripped out part is the day I went to Atwood, that's the federal prison in Kentucky, it looked exactly like the hospital I was in.
Girl, because that was a mental institution. You never looked it up. It used to be a drug farm.
It looked exactly like. So the night I went into the hospital, I remember a dim light. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to that facility, it was the dim light, but there was God telling me something. And I went there for 8 days. And then I went home. And I was like, okay, I could do this. And then I remember being in a car with my abuser. And I'm like, okay, that's that childhood feeling right there. I don't like it. And I went back in.
You went back into the hospital?
I went back into that rebirth.
Oh,
I forgot all over again. I forgot all over again. And then I would talk to the therapist, and that was the first time that I actually spoke it. That something happened to me as a child. And we can run from, when people say, go to the therapist, go to the counselor, go to the when you start to face those things, when it hits you head on, we may not be able to handle it. And I wasn't able to handle it then. And so sometimes the support and the care and the concern and the love we get from people may not be the thing that we need to get through that depression or that to get to your healing. So it took for me to be incarcerated to get to that healing. And I knew then, I'm like, I'm not going to get to 40 and not take care. I want to be the one that protects the 5-year-old Latasha. Nobody did it for me, so I have to do it for myself.
And you're doing it.
And I'm doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah.
And so who would have thought 21 years later I could be happy about a moment that was like, who want to tell somebody you went to a mental hospital? You know? And who wants to even acknowledge that you have lived more than half of your life with all of that inside of you? I was not my best self. I feel like I could have been so much greater and so much bigger, but because I was introduced to someone else's will for me in there, they put something in my life that I didn't have to have.
Right.
And for so long, I had to fight that thing off.
Yeah. And you fought it off. And for you, sis, healing, how do you feel like, what does healing look like?
Healing for me, I don't know if this is on. Can you hear me?
Nope.
You can't? Can you all hear me? So healing for me is really about boldness. It's about being honest and transparent. And it looks different for everybody. So Latasha's process for healing doesn't look like KC's process for healing. But it's about being bold. And for me, I'm 4'10 and a half. I've been 4'10 and a half since I was 10 years old. And that courage and strength and that boldness was probably birthed in my grandmother's dining room over a bottle of Frank's hot sauce with an uncle that was a bully. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just looks different. And so people operate with what they have in that moment, with the strategies and tools that they have. But it's been an evolving and an ever-present process. So it doesn't stop, right? And every day is not a day when you're thinking about having been abused or something bad happens to you, right? It doesn't happen all day, every day.
Right.
There's some moments where it's ebbs and flows. You feel good sometimes, and sometimes it's like, damn, that happened, right? And so for me, it's about always being bold. I'm not going to say somebody did so. No, I was molested. I was abused.
Naming it.
I name it.
Yeah.
And with that naming, I get the power. It
That's
may not
right.
be the same for the next person, but for somebody that's 4'10 and a half, that has to deal with giants all the time, right? I name it. And so that's where that power came from.
And how do you feel about your abusers?
Most of them dead. I didn't kill them. Put that out there. So yeah, I didn't kill him. But if I'm being transparent,
yeah,
we want to be protected. Right? And so a lot of times people will find the reasons, the excuses, good old Christian folk, we won't talk about, let God handle it.
Correct.
Because they don't want to handle it.
Right.
Like my grandmother killed people. She's a murderer. And so for me, I wanted my grandmother to do the same for me.
That she did
because
to
she
other
loved
people.
me.
Yeah.
That she did for somebody that, did something very small that just issued a threat to her. And so the process is just the process, but we want to be protected. And most often, we're not sitting here by ourselves.
Correct.
Like this, it's probably 1 in every 5 that's sitting in this chair.
Right.
Right? And so it is a conversation. It is a silent thing that happens in our community all too often. But I'd rather talk about you going to prison than having to talk about the fact that I kept you uncovered. Because I'm okay with that. Right? I didn't do that part. I didn't do the thing that got you in trouble. But I did do the thing that got you in trouble, because one thing happens and it causes a ripple effect. right? We don't know who we are or could have been without being introduced to those high levels of trauma. And I had high levels of trauma.
Yeah, but sis, how have you been able to succeed in life? Because from the outside looking in, no one would ever know what you face, the suicidal thoughts, want to take your own life, being abused, being rejected, you know, not your mother not understanding you. On the outside looking in, it looks like KC has it all together. And you have still been able to, you was a principal at one time over one of the worst schools and turned it around. Then you still have been able to be successful. So how have you found success in trauma?
So I think it's not about Casey having it all together. It's Casey having God, right? And I don't believe that just because we have God, we don't have this beautiful struggle called life. But in my own development and realizing that I was made for this journey. I was wax strong for this journey. It's not just the molestation, right? I could go back to not feeling like my mother loved me.
Right.
Or feeling like my father left me, those feelings of abandonment, right? Being small, feeling like I'm like Miss Sophia. All my life I had to fight, and I've been fighting, right? But it's about when you fail forward, and really not being concerned, not even about the good opinions that people have about you. It's Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect example. You walk in, everybody love you. Give you a week later, they saying kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you got to know that people are going to disappoint you. And you have to be sure not to disappoint you. And so before I look at anybody else, I have to look at how I've disappointed myself. Because we always have an option. And most often we don't realize that we have that option, but we always have an option. And so I think I've been resilient my entire life. And yes, there's been moments, probably more than I'd like to even share, where I didn't feel like I needed to be on this earth, right? When life started to life, I had to push. And for me, my son is 26 years old, but hell, I wanted to kill myself before then. And so there's always something. I believe in the angels. I believe that they have charge over us. And it's not to be super religious. That I'm not. But I just believe that God is real. And I believe that the angels are real. And there's something that kept me, that I didn't die. Maybe it's that of my ancestors, the slaves that came across the Atlantic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know I'm 48 years young, and I want to see at least another 58 if I can. Yeah. And I'm going to keep on pushing for whatever struggles come my way. I'm rolling with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now I want to, how am I going? Now I want to open up the floor. Any questions for KC or Tasha? Go ahead.
A question for Tasha. Is your mom still married to him?
Yeah, so when did I turn 40? I'm 44.
She's just gonna remind me that I'm 48. She's like, when did I turn 44?
No, because I had such high trauma. The years I could remember my age, but I don't remember the year. It's like so crazy. When I turned 40, that was the last time I spoke to her. That January. So I haven't spoken to her since then. We don't have a relationship. It's strange.
When they came to the jail, were they still married?
Yes. So I was incarcerated in 2016. So this happened after I got out of prison. Yeah. Right? So this is something that's recent. So 4 years ago, or 5 years ago this year, that I spoke with her. Yeah, she's married. She's happy and married. He became a pastor. She's the first lady.
She's not happy. She's in denial. She's not happy.
And in the sense of she's doing what she wants to do as a married woman. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you still love her the same way you was explaining that you loved?
So because I said she had to die, to me, I can't tell you that I have a love that I can explain, or else I would be hurt. So I put the love, it's just gone, you know. Right. But I do believe that I do love her. But I can tell you, yeah, I love my mama. I feel.
Go ahead and Devon that chat.
So I know you stated you threw the letter in the car with your husband. After that, you all no longer were together. Did you all, before that, come to terms that you were getting a divorce, or?
So when I threw the letter in to my husband, I was still married to him. We didn't get a divorce until years later. But that was when I decided that, okay, I'm going to give him what he wanted. So, which was really just having oral sex, something that I was not wanting to do. Yes, ma'am.
See, that goes to show, Jarena, you have not been watching the show, because this is a be continue. Now, and I wanted to get on YouTube right here. Oh yeah, YouTube, because you asked her, was her mom still with on the episode? Now, before it went to cut, she spoke about confronting her mom that day, and what her mom said. But you could answer Jarena's question, but I just wanted to call out.
She said, say it again.
What was her response?
She asked me, first she said, hold on, while she listened to Steve Harvey on Family Feud. And I think it was because that was probably the best thing she could do. She didn't have the mental capacity at that time to handle what I had just given her. And so she said, do I think he changed? And I don't think that's a good question to ask people, because now who have been abused, who have been sexually abused for one, right? Because now I have to, as the person that went through that thing, the abuse, answer a question for you to feel better about the person that I'm telling you about. I don't know if he changed. I ran away. So the change came from me. You have to make that decision, and it's not about him. It was about, Latasha, how are you? So she wanted to know do I think he changed? And I don't know. I responded to her, I don't know if he changed. I really couldn't that's not something that I can. And I changed before I went to prison. I wasn't doing anything wrong. They came for me before the statute of limitations was up, but I still went to prison. And so that means that then nobody asked me, Latasha, should you still go
to prison?
Because that thing that you did that will cause you to be incarcerated, you have not been doing for some time. So we don't get to do that because the trauma is still embedded inside of us. Even if that person has repented, has done everything, I still have the trauma inside of me, no matter what.
Okay, so
this man want to answer, and I want to.
Okay. Okay. From a man, go ahead.
So I have a question. This is for both of you guys. You go to therapy and counseling. Do you recommend faith-based counseling, or do you recommend because I know there's two forms of counseling, and I know that a lot of people are go to the church and get your counseling, or do so what do you recommend, or what would you say in regards to your interactions when you were actually going through your therapy and counseling with your person?
I love that question, and I thank you that we had a guy to get up and say something.
I can't really say. So is the person that's in church, are they credentialed?
See, that's where that's a pastor, I guess. So I'm not really sure.
So because I would want anybody to get therapy with someone who is really credentialed for that. Because I was born and raised in a church, and sometimes pastors have hell inside of them too, right? And so we need to go to people that we can, not saying that we can't trust each pastor, but to trust that the knowledge that they're giving us is going to lead us or help us to get out of the thing. Because most times faith-based only tell you, well, the Bible says this, and the Bible says that. And then it can be condemning. I'm using choice words here. It can be very condemning, and so it's like, well, did I? You won't tell them everything that's happening, because are they looking at you, or are they guiding you from a lens that one, they can give you the coping skills, the real actual methods that's going to be healing for you. So I would do it in two parts. I would say, okay, I'm going to go here, and then I'll go to my faith-based thing. Once I get to a certain level, that faith-based won't be more of a cult. Because cults are not healing. It's masking, right? And so I would say do both, but once you're able to communicate it.
Okay, so y'all, we'll take a break now for maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. But before we go to break, I want to give another jacket away. And I want to give it to someone who gave me my first speaking engagement when I came home. Aww. Fresh out of prison. I think I might have been home maybe 4 months. Indy, when was the thing was in May? It was in March. Oh no, I was home 60 days. Oh, wow. And she had an event in North Carolina, and she had me to come. And I mean, she had Wallow, she had Megan Good. So this is for you. I want to thank you for when I first came home, giving me a chance. And did you cut my mic off? And just not being a gatekeeper. You know, yes. A lot of times we can, as women, we might see something in somebody else, but feel like, oh, they're going to get further than me, so I don't want to give them the opportunity. Or she could have looked at it as, I have all these high-name people on my platform, so I'm not going to have this prisoner that just came home and share the same platform as them. So I just want to thank you, Indy, for that.